Hi, this is Debbie with another video tutorial. Today I wanted to go over at least 3 of the frequently asked questions on how to do things. And one of the questions that comes up the most is understanding the paths and compound paths. So here I drew a circle and I did an internal offset to make my smaller circle. And each of these individual pieces, if I group them together, it would show, I'm going to show you that real quick. If I go down here and I group them together, they're no longer 2 individual pieces, they're grouped. But a lot of people think if they group these together and they take them and they want to weld them together, we're going to see what happens. Because these are 2 individual paths. Shapes, okay. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to take both of these and group them together. I'm going to hit that weld button and see what I got. I just got the basic, like an 8 almost. So we're going to undo that. So really, I really didn't even need these inside circles because look, I'll show you. We're going to go ahead and ungroup these. And I'm going to ungroup this circle. Okay, and I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to delete this circle out because I'm going to show you that I'm going to get exactly the same thing. So I select both of those circles and I weld them, and see, and I have the same shape. So it kind of just excluded that inner circle, and I didn't want that. I wanted a circle. When I wanted it to cut out, I wanted to have these circles in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a compound path. So I select both of those circles. I'm going to right click and select Make Compound Path. Now, this is a compound path, and I'll show you again. If I click on this one and I fill it with blue, the whole thing fills with blue because this circle that's in the center isn't part of this path. So if I click on the inner circle and I make it yellow, now you see I have, it will cut like this. It will cut a circle out of the middle, so you'll just have this little shape around here when you go to cut it. But as you can see, they're both separated. This is not a compound path. Okay, so this is now a compound path because I made it a compound path. I'm going to control click. I'm going to do that same thing that we just did, moving this circle side by side. Now I'm going to select both of these circles with the circle inside them, and I'm going to hit weld, and look at the difference. This is a compound path. If I fill this now with that blue, there we go. And remember down here, when I clicked on this circle, it filled this one with the blue because it was the larger of the shapes and it's the area I clicked in. And then I wanted to click inside this one, which is a separate path. And it's the same thing. If I took this little circle here, that's just a circle, one element. It is not a compound path. And this larger circle is another element. So now I'm going to make them a compound path. Grouping both of those together, I'm going to right click and select Make Compound Path. Now, we're going to show this in the smaller version. I'm going to fill this with blue because it's a compound path now. And remember this one? We're going to fill it with yellow. And see the difference? Okay, now if I took this and I wanted it to weld it to the outside of this compound path here, this would work. We're going to show both. So I select this compound path, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and select this compound path, and down here I'm going to select weld. Okay, now I'm going to grab both of these because remember they're 2 separate shapes. They're not made into a compound path yet. I'm going to drag them up here. I'm going to do the same thing. Select to have these 2 shapes selected. I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to select weld again. Let's see what happens. Makes a nice little mouse here, but actually what it did is it just took that little center hole away. If I wanted this look for some like Mickey Mouse ears, that would work perfectly, but I could have done away with this inner circle. So this is basically how compound paths work. Now, another question I've had, which I'm going to go over briefly again, I'm going to delete all these out. I'm going to draw this here, just a great big oval, and I'm going to select some type, and it doesn't matter, I'll just leave it at the default of Arial type, and I'm going to type silhouette again. I'm going to leave it at 72 points. And a lot of people say, but I want it to follow a path. Okay, this shape is a closed path. And anytime you have a path, you can make your type follow that path. So all you do is this little toggle here, and I'm going to blow that up. This little toggle here, you want to grab a hold of this and drag it over here. So I'm going to go back to fit to window so you can see this. You want it to run alongside this area right here. And remember, once you do this, sometimes it doesn't come out perfect. So you can do some character spacing. You can spread it out. And even sometimes at that, it doesn't happen. So I'm going to show you something else in just a moment. Okay, so now that I have my letters following this path the way I wanted it to, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say convert to path. Now I can get rid of this little shape because all I wanted was my letters to go across that path, so I'm going to delete that out. Now you see down here how they're grouped. But say I wanted to change one of my letters to just make them a little cockeyed or something like that. So you have to ungroup them. And then you can actually select each individual letter and you can change them just by moving them around like that. Because like I said, sometimes when our letters follow these paths, they don't exactly look the way we want them to. So remember, you can shape them a little bit different. Okay, I hope that's helped with explaining the compound paths better. And one more time, a frame is a really good example. A lot of people want to make frames. So they draw out their square, and then they do their internal offset. And I'm going to just make that thicker there. And they're like, yay, I have a frame. And they do. If you cut it just like this will cut out that center square. But they want a frame with something else on the sides. So they want to do some like a little scalloped lacy edge. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and draw a circle. And then I'm going to go to my offset and do an internal offset. Okay, and I'm going to make two of these. So I selected both of the circles, control click. Whoops, grabbed the wrong thing there. Control click. Okay, now I'm going to take these down here because I think, oh yeah, I want this to be a little scalloped edge. So I'm going to try to line it up right here in the center. And I'm going to go replicate, and let's see, we're going to do a row of 4, another row of 4, and we'll do another row of 4. You'll see what I'm coming. Okay, I'm going to delete this last one. I'm going to delete this, and as you can see, I have to delete it twice because I only selected one. Now, selecting all of these, I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to space them. So I'm going to space horizontally. And see how it separated them too? Because even though I had them selected and grouped, they still spread at the line. So we're going to go ahead and make this square, and remember, this is not a compound path. These are two separate elements. So if I select weld, I'm going to put my shift key on this here. I select weld, I've got that image. So we're going to undo that. And leaving those circles as they are, I'm going to select my inner square and hold my shift key down, select my outer square. I'm going to right click and select Make Compound Path. And now we're going to weld this again. Let's hit that weld. And I have a nice edge, but that's not what I wanted. So I'm going to undo this. I'm going to delete all these little circles out. Just to show you again, I'm going to release the compound path. So now they're two separate elements, an inner square and an outer square. And I'm going to make my circle a compound path. Let me bring that back in. Okay, so I'm going to right click, make compound path. And remember, I want to make this look like a little scallop border. So I'm going to replicate this again, do a row of 4, another row of 4, and just do another row of 4. It's okay if I have to delete some out. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to delete this circle out. And now I'm going to select all of these here. I'm going to go to my Align window, space them horizontally. So there we go. And with all of those selected, I'm going to hold down my shift key and select that square. And even if I select both, the inner square and the outer square, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I select Weld. There you go. It got rid of that inner circle because it was not a compound path. So let me hit Undo and undo that again. And this time I'm going to select that frame. I'm going to make this a frame, selecting the inner square, holding down the shift key, select the outer square, right click, select Make Compound Path. Now I'm going to select all of the elements. Remember, the circles are compound paths, and now my frame is a real frame. It's a compound path. And I'm going to select Weld. And there we go. I have that nice little border there. And it's all together. So now when I fill it with color, there we go. Okay, I hope that more of this really helped, because this is something that seems to confuse a lot of people, and a lot's been written about it and said about it, but it never seems to quite get through. And hopefully this will help some of you. And if not, remember, there's a bunch of tutorials on here, and then on the Silhouette Plus forum, there's a whole lot of people that are willing to help. So just pop in over there. Okay, my next one was about taking an element like a print and cut. I drew this little owl in Silhouette and making it into like a card shape. Okay, if we look at the cut line right now, you'll see, oops, it's supposed to say cut edge. But if I select cut, you'll see all these little elements in here that I put together to create this owl. So I want to go back to cut edge. Now we're going to take this owl, and I always duplicate everything that I'm doing in case I mess up and accidentally hit the save button or something like that, because I wouldn't want to lose this little owl. Okay, now I'm going to right click and make this owl a compound path. Did it do it? Nope, it didn't. It still has all these little elements in here. So I'm going to undo this. I'm going to take the owl right back again. I'm going to select Ungroup. And if I look at my cut lines, and let's say go back to cut, oh, gotta select that. We're going to select cut again. All of these have been ungrouped, so each little thing is there. So I'm going to select cut, so we're going to see all those little pieces again. Now I know if I want to make a card, I don't need these inner pieces. So what I'm going to do is remove them, because these are all grouped together. And if I ungroup these again, you'll see that they're all separate little parts again. The nose, the eyes, the inner ears and stuff. Okay, but since I don't need those, I can delete those out. So I'm just going to select those and hit my delete button. I'm going to go back to the window. I'm going to go fit to window. Okay, now what's going to happen when I select these and I click weld? There we go. I have the shape of the owl, and all I have to do is move this owl out of the way. I'm going to move this owl over here. And that little line right there, that was the perforated line for the card I made. So I'm going to delete that out. Okay, now we're going to go to the replicate tool, and I'm going to mirror this to the left. And as you can see, these little elements are side by side. So the next thing I have to do, which is really simple, to make this a card, I'm going to unfill this so you can see it better. And we're going to go fill without color. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom in here to show you. This is where I want the card to come together. And the easiest way to do this is just to draw you a little rectangle or some sort of shape right in this area. And you can make it thicker if you want, because this would make a pretty flimsy closure right here. But I always reinforce it on the inside. So we have this. I drew this little square. I'm going to hold down the shift key because my square is already selected. I hold the shift key down again. Let me go fit to window so you can see this. Hit that weld button. And there's our card. And then right here, all you have to do is go grab, I always make my perforated lines blue. So drawing right here, I'm going to hold down the shift key because it's right there in the center. Line color blue. And for some reason it doesn't want to turn blue. And then a perforated line because that's where the card's going to fold. And then I group these because if I make this a compound path, that's going to make that a straight cut line. So I just want to group these. And if I fill them with color, you'll see the hole. We're going to go back to that brown. I'll cut these out on a brown paper. So then I would just cut this card shape out and do a print and cut of my little owl. And when it's cut, I'm going to bring this to the front. I just adhere the owl onto this portion of the card. And then ta-da, I have that. Another thing that you might want to consider is we're going to do this again because the inside liner of the card. I'm going to control click. I'm going to ungroup these again. Move all these parts out. And I'm going to weld these again. And I'm going to go back to no fill so we can see what I'm doing. And this time I want a liner for the card, so I want to do an internal offset. Because when this card's folded, I don't want the inside of the card to show. I just want the brown part to show. So internal offset, and I'm going to kick that up quite a bit to bring it in. Because this is the area where you can put your verse and do a print and cut of this as well. And I'm going to fill this with white so you can see it better. And we can go ahead and delete this one out. Delete. And I'm going to delete that perforated line out here. So now this will be the liner of the inside of your card where you can go ahead and type a verse and put it in here and then print it with the front part. So these two elements would be printed. And like I said, you can do this with your paper piecing projects too. Like I've shared some paper piecing bunnies on my blog. And if you ungroup those and then you weld them, once again, you can make your little shaped animal card. Okay, now we're going to go over here. This is just a little something that I quickly worked on because a lot of people want to know about this tool here. And they want to know about drawing those curved shapes. You can use fonts to get curved shapes, but you don't always get exactly what you want. So, with the Freehand tool, I want a curved shape. Okay, and that looks okay. I did that really quick. And you can always go in here and double click on this and edit this line a little bit. I'm bringing these out and using these little handles to make it more curvy. And you can spend quite a bit of time getting this shape just the way you want it. And so now you know when you buy those files from the designers on SVG Cuts and the Silhouette store, how much time they spend into making these. So those little 99-cent files can be quite well worth the money. I just enjoy designing. So I poke around and I spend a lot of time doing this stuff. Okay, so now I have that set. Well, we know that's just a path. So what I want to do is go over to my offset button and click offset. And of course, I want this more delicate, so I'm going to bring it in really snug. And later on, I would go in and edit this a lot more to make a prettier shape. So I delete that out, and there. I deleted out the line, and then there's my little curved shape. Now here, I drew my curved shape in the same manner, and I made some little elements to go along the side. And right now, they're all individual little pieces. I can group them. And let's check those cut lines. And see how it cut? It would cut this piece out, all these little pieces. So let's go back to fit to window. I don't want them to cut out all the pieces. I want them to look like one flourish type thing. So I'm going to select I'm going to ungroup so I can show you again. Select all the elements and then weld them. And then after they're welded, and I know this is a compound path now because I welded all of these separate pieces, I now have a little flourish. So I'm going to delete these out and quickly go back over that wonderful little freehand tool to draw some pretty curved shapes. And if you take your time when you're drawing these, you get a little bit better curve. So take your time when you draw them, but remember, most of the time you do have to go in and edit these, giving them a little bit more of a curvy shape. But they sure come in handy for all of those. This tool comes in really handy for all those things that we need that perfect little shape for. And just like doing our a lot of people want their fonts to follow a path, where they can just draw that path with that freehand tool and then type something up. Happy days. Oops. Just an S. Okay, and then there's a pretty little path that I may want to use. And use my character spacing. And we're going to convert that to a path. I can get rid of this little path here. Don't need it. I'm going to fill this with some color so you can see it. We'll just fill it with red. And now I have all my letters shaped to that path that I wanted. So we've gone over paths, we've gone over welding, making compound paths, and how to use your cards, your little images or whatever, to make cards out of them. And remember, some shapes are kind of weird, so it's kind of hard to bring them together to make a really nice card shape. But there's ways you can work around that too, and I know as you learn your studio software, you'll figure it out more and more, and I'll be doing more videos to help. So have a wonderful day and enjoy crafting with your silhouettes, and I'll see you on my forum or on the Silhouette Plus forum. On my blog or the Silhouette Plus forum. Okay, have a happy crafting day, everyone. Bye now.